I'm Kent, and this is another Weekend Adventure Rides how-to. Today we're going over pannier organization. I'm going to show you a simple trick on how to stay organized and save some money doing it. All right, stay tuned. When I first started riding with these hard cases, I found that it was really hard to keep things organized inside. Things weren't as accessible as I liked them to be. I came up with a simple idea, or this idea was kind of given to me, to use dividers within my boxes to organize all of my things. Now, in this episode, we're not going to go over what I put in my panniers right now. I think we'll do that in a later episode. But there's a few simple things to consider when you're doing this. You want your panniers to be even, and by that I mean you want the same weight in your left pannier and your right pannier. Mine, I usually have about 30 pounds, including the weight of the pannier on each side, and that's slightly above the recommended weight, which is why I made the other video about reinforcing my pannier racks. So if you haven't seen that, go and watch that episode. This is a pretty easy method. I'm going to show you what you're going to need to do it, and then we'll go through how much stuff I can pack into each one of these and show you how I keep it organized. All right, let's look at some supplies that you're going to need to do this. So this is a really simple and cheap fix, and it works really well. I was able to stay organized for the 9 days that I was in Idaho recently. So what you'll need: a pair of scissors, a pen or a Sharpie. I like this big yardstick to help draw straight lines, and then a tape measure. And then the only material we're using is just this big piece of cardstock. Oh yeah, you're gonna need some duct tape. And I chose white duct tape when I did this. I felt like it made things easier to see inside the pannier, so whatever duct tape you wanna use is fine. Okay, so I got some duct tape. All right, what we're gonna need to do is make a few measurements. So I didn't want my dividers to come all the way up to the top, plus there's a few things inside here that kind of block that from happening and would make it more difficult to fit those in there. So there's some rails on this side here, and then my latches that connect the pannier to the rack are actually inside here, so I didn't want to get in the way of those, so I put the top of the dividers up to the bottom edge of those rings that connect to the pannier rack and make those usable with these in here. So what I'm going to do first is take a measurement from the very bottom of the case to the bottom edge of these rack clips here, and so that's right at 10 inches. So that's going to be my total height. Now we're going to need our width measurement, and that's just going to be the inside measurement from side to side inside the case here. So I'll use a tape measure for that, and that looks like I'm right at about 9 1/4 inches. So that will be the second measurement. Our width is 9 1/4. And then the bottom edge of this, it does have these curves in it here, so we'll have to cut those corners out in order to get it to fit all the way to the bottom. So again, I'll take my tape, go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm estimating this bottom edge here is right at 2 inches above the bottom. Okay, so I have that measurement, and this side over here looks like it's the same at right at 2 inches. Now we need to subtract 4 inches total from the 9 1/4 width to fit. So we'll go through that in just a second now. We're gonna take our cardstock here, cardboard, and I'm gonna measure 10 inches. So we'll mark 10 inches, our height. And then from that mark, we're gonna go 9 1/4. And then measure this side as well so that it's square. Okay, 10 inches there. So 10 by 9 1/4. Now we're gonna subtract 2 inches. Go to 2 inches, and then 2 inches from here, Okay, we'll connect the dots at the bottom. All right, and now we're going to go 2 inches up. Thankfully, those cutouts are pretty square. Okay, 2 inches there. And there. Now we can connect these dots for our bottom edges. Measure 9 1/4 at the top again. Make sure that that is perfect. And we'll draw in that side. We have that side already on the edge, so that's perfect there. Okay, then I'm going to use my scissors. We're going to cut that out and see how it fits. We'll give it a test fit here. On second thought, probably going to use a razor. So we have our first divider cut. Now I'm going to test fit that in the box. Make sure this fits appropriately. Looks like it's going to be just a little bit tight, so we'll take a little off this edge. By no means is this exact, and it really doesn't need to be. We're going to reinforce it with tape, so it'll work just fine. Okay, so I got a little bit off the side there. It looks like that's a pretty perfect fit. So we've got that in there now. Okay. Now what I want to do before I install it all the way is you're probably going to have some moisture at some time that gets into this, and you don't want your cardboard, which is paper, to get wet. So I'm going to take this duct tape here, and we'll just make this divider waterproof really quick. Okay, so now we've waterproofed our divider. And then make sure that fits in there nice and snug. Okay, so now the fun part. We're going to actually tape the divider into the box itself. So I'll just take this and I'll do about a 10-inch piece. And then run this back here. Kind of fold it in half. This seems to be the easiest way to do it. And then get those edges lined up and tape that in there. I'm not going to do it right now since I'm not actually taping this one into my case. But you're going to tape all the edges on both sides all the way around in the back and the bottom so that that divider is pretty rigid in there. Okay, now I'm going to grab all of my gear and stack it up here, and I'll show you how I pack it in there. Okay, so here's my big pile of stuff. Now when I organized these, I did it with the intention of putting everything in there a specific way. So there's certain compartments that exactly fit certain things, such as like my propane tank and my jet boil. So keep that in mind when you're organizing this. Also, like I said previously, you want your panniers to have equal weight. So take all the stuff that you have and have it full, everything packed exactly how you want it, and weigh it, and then split things up so that each one of these has the equal weight. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on putting things in here. All right, so there we go. We've got all of my standard items packed into these now and organized, easily accessible. So take a quick look at here inside the cases. The other thing when I'm doing this, I try to make sure that there's not a lot of room for things to bounce around. So everything's in there pretty tight, well organized. Okay. Thanks for watching this episode. Like, subscribe. We're going to do a lot of videos coming up. I'm going to post a lot more frequently. So check us out, and thanks for watching.